Greetings and welcome to Growth Hacking Secrets. I'm your host, Mohammed Siddique from Atlanta, Georgia, and the co-author of New Success Secrets available on Amazon. On this episode, we have a special guest, Johannes Castner. Johannes is a Google Cloud engineer, TEDx speaker, data engineer, and founder at CollectiWise. Please join me to give a warm welcome to our guest, Johannes Castner. Johannes, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who were you surrounded with that inspired you to do what you do today?
I was part of a PhD program at Columbia in sustainable development, and I participated in a graduate workshop in computational social science at the Santa Fe Institute, where I met Scott Page, who became somewhat of a mentor of mine, and he basically he told me to participate or to go to the conference in 2013, to the annual conference of collective intelligence, where I saw all sorts of business applications of this new interdisciplinary field of collective intelligence. For example, Duolingo and others, and Facebook was there, and Microsoft Research was there. And so that's where I first got into contact with this field, with this interdisciplinary field. So that's what. And then I did some research at a social science laboratory at Columbia, and I presented this the initial ideas at the conference in 2015 in collective intelligence in California. And so that's how this all grew. So this is where the ideas really came out of some academic research.
What are the top 3 reasons why do people fail?
I think failure is a very difficult thing to even define, honestly. When have you failed, right? I mean, when you failed when you die, ultimately. I mean, and you haven't done anything or something like that. So fail, or you fail when you let your business die because you're running out of cash. You have people to pay and you can't do it anymore because you don't have you haven't planned well the takeoff, if you will. You haven't, or because simply the product or the idea wasn't ready or wasn't the right thing. So you could have some ideas that are really not able to sell at all. That's possible, and then you try to do it, and eventually you come to a dead end. I mean, that's one thing, but I think most of the time it's a cash flow issue, actually.
So what are the top 3 reasons?
Oh, I see. Top 3 reasons. Well, so I think the first reason why people fail, if you will, and I don't think failure is a permanent thing, it's a temporary thing, it's just because maybe their idea didn't work. They had an idea, they thought people might be interested in this idea, they go out there, they try to sell it, they even maybe they hire someone who sells it for them because maybe they're not good salespeople. That's fine, but it just doesn't sell. It doesn't work, and then they may fail, and then they fail because they don't pivot, so maybe then they could still pivot and sell something slightly different or something that actually would sell, but often they get a bit stuck there. So that's the first reason. The second reason really, I think, is a cash flow problem, and I think that's the most common one, is that eventually you might not be able to match the burn rate that you have. So you have to pay your employees and yourself, and you have to keep things over the water. And if at that point you don't have any sales or investment, you can basically, you have to fail. And then the third one, let's see, a third reason to fail. Well, simply because of a human, actually very important part as well of this is, of course, a human problem, right? So your team isn't coming together. There are people who just have second thoughts. Everybody bails out. It could just be a human miscoordination or just a lack of interest at some point, and people just sort of fizzle, and then the whole thing fizzles out. So that could be the third one.
What is your greatest failure story? What did you learn and how did you recover from it?
So a lot of people say that it was a big mistake, and I might, maybe myself included, to not finish this PhD in the allotted 5 years of time that I had. So you could say that, not finishing a PhD, it definitely would help me if I had this PhD right now. But recovering, I recovered by simply getting a job that paid quite well, right? You could say, or maybe that was the reason why I didn't. Actually, that was the reason why I didn't finish the PhD, because I got pulled out. I got paid quite well and I got comfortable. So that you could say that that's a mistake. I definitely would say that if I had a PhD next to my name, it would probably be easier to sell my business. So I guess you could say that that's a mistake. It's definitely something I regret not finishing in 5 years.
What are your top 3 success secrets that others can model from?
I think the very top one is that I keep an open mind to things. I don't despair when things go badly, and sometimes they go badly, and I'm actually quite comfortable with a situation where things are not going as I personally had planned them. So I think that's the first one. So if you can recover and you can continuously have a positive attitude despite things maybe not being as you wish, then that will really get you a lot of mileage, because people will see that positive attitude and they are willing to help you. They're willing to bring you to the next level. They're willing to work with you. And obviously, everything really depends on other people. Nothing really depends only on you. And in that sense, having a positive, open mind and a positive attitude is always something people will rather work with than someone who's, and if you have this despair that is very visible, and then your chances actually go as you expect them, right? So if you expect to have good chances and good opportunities and people to help you forward, they will actually. So this will come true. But if you're down and feel depressed, and it will be visible in your face, and it's not very enjoyable to work with people who are depressed. So other people will kind of not really feel the moment either, and so the whole thing cannot materialize into something good. So I think that's my best quality, is that I keep I'm pretty resilient. The second one I would say is that it's a human quality. I think I have sort of a tendency to get along well with people. So I think that's a very important aspect as well. But the third one, and maybe it's arguable whether the third one or the second one are more important. I think creativity is ultimately more important than, say, intelligence or being able to do. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm pretty intelligent, but I think I'm even more creative, and I think that's where my advantage lies, I would say.
What motivates you within?
I'm very much motivated by trying to have a positive effect on the world around me. So that's my main motivation, really. I get up because I want to do something that has a positive impact. That motivates me to help other people have better lives, richer lives, make less mistakes, perhaps make better decisions. So I guess decision sciences have motivated me because I can see that everything that that we suffer from in society, or that people suffer from, is generally a function of some decision. And the same thing with when people really feel that they're going somewhere, that they're happy, that they have great well-being. It's because of some decisions that were made, right? Not only by them, but by society as a whole, right? So it's like if we lived in the medieval times, I wouldn't be too happy, I think. But because we don't, and because there are these opportunities that other people have created for me, therefore I'm doing quite well, right? So this is, if we can just all pull on that rope, so to speak, to create more opportunities for other people all around us, then we will also have opportunities. But that's not the point. I guess the point is to expand human opportunities in the world, and that's I think that motivates me most.
What is your company's motto?
The simple motto is intelligent together.
Who is your ideal client?
My ideal client is a collective, so it's not a person in the sense. It's more like an organization with many different people. So the more the merrier, and the more diverse, the better. So the more diverse in the cognitive sense, not what they look like or where they come from. That's not so important, although that sort of ties into it, perhaps. But the idea is that you have a lot of people who have really different ideas about how the world works. That's the ideal client. So you have, for example, a big hospital that has nurses and doctors and perhaps even includes the patients in the process. That would be an ideal client, or a city, a small city or a large city that has all kinds of perhaps income levels, classes, if you will, and situations where many different people want to are involved and are affected. And these people might have very different situations, and so the idea of CollectiWise is really to allow everyone to weigh in an unbiased way, in a truth-telling way too. And like they have to express their true beliefs, because that's actually built in. They're incentivized to do that in that system. But so we want really a lot of different people, because diversity trumps ability, in fact. And so this is something that Scott Page has written quite extensively about, and I believe that. I've seen the research and I trust it.
How do you find your ideal client?
I have a list worked up with people in the BizTech society who have helped me with formulating the business model that I'm going with at this point. And so these people have helped us basically create a list of potential clients. And so these would be our ideal clients. So they're high-tech hospitals, sort of next-gen hospitals, if you will, cities, smart cities that already have done some technological projects, some kind of digital transformation projects. So ideally, they have some experience with that already. Ideally, they have a centralized database where they're collecting all the data that interests them at that point. Of course, more data must be brought in, and that's part of the collective effort as well. But ideally, they have some experience with that.
How do you engage your ideal client?
I've come to find that it's good to. So I find LinkedIn actually a quite good platform for engaging either clients, partners, any kind of people, all the people that I like to work with. It's easy to reach out on LinkedIn, basically, but not just to reach out, but to sort of create a relationship with people on LinkedIn over time. So, and not just on LinkedIn, also the way that I work. I work for Ancoris, as I had said before, and that puts me into contact with the kinds of clients, not necessarily the clients that I like to work with CollectiWise, but the kinds of clients. And so I get a feel for their kind of needs, what they really want, and then I engage with my network basically by posting things that interest me and that I think would interest them on LinkedIn, and they contact me often. So it's a conversation, I guess. It's a conversation that happens on LinkedIn and also in the real world, if you will. I don't know if that makes sense.
What are your well-defined products or services?
This is a loaded question, so this is not a very quick answer that I can give you here. This will take a little bit of time. So the main service that we're building is a collective decision-making platform. So, and it could be it could be a decision-making platform. It could also be a platform that informs some final decision made by some manager or something like that, where the crowd or the group or the collective basically suggests what should be the decision that should be made, and then ultimately someone, a manager, can still make that decision. it can be either that one, or it could be that the collective directly has a sort of direct democracy, if you will, like a direct democracy platform, but not with voting, but rather within voting, a prediction. So where everyone makes a prediction of what would happen if we did, X, Y, Z, some new action, some new innovation, or something like this. Well, we don't have data, right? So the main importance here is that data science can take care of situations where we make decisions based on information that we've always seen, right? So we have this series of data, and we know what happens if we do X, Y, Z, and we know how that affects the data, right? But there are a lot of situations, particularly for organizations that want to do something innovative. So if you want to do something innovative, by definition, there will be no data that can be observed about what would happen if you did it. And because of that, what the second best, so to speak, if you don't have data, if you don't have the answer in a sort of objective way, the best way that you can still kind of know what might happen is by just asking your entire collective, what would happen if we did that, right? Or what would happen if we did something else, right? And so they weigh in, and it's a sort of they build every player, if you will, or every person in this collective will build a comprehensive belief system about how the organization or the system of interest works. What causes what in the system, and what is related with what other thing. Who's married to whom, for example, and what kind of effects will this marriage have? You can express rather complex ideas. Actually, anything that that would make sense in an argument, you can express this in a clear and quantifiable way in this platform. And then if you're right about it, right? So you can be right or wrong about the future, right? And if you happen to be right about something, then you gain points. And if you're wrong, or if you're not that right, let's say, there's degrees of that, then you lose some points, and these points can then be converted either into some kind of bonus pay or some real money, right? So the idea is really that you're incentivized to express your true belief system as it is, right? So the incentives are borrowed from experimental or behavioral economics, and they have been tested quite well, especially in causal networks and causal graphs. So there's a lot of research that was done at Yahoo Research, which was then bought by Microsoft Research, and continued there. So they have done a lot of research on the basic idea of collective intelligence as a prediction market, or combinatorial prediction market is what they often call it. But they have never marketed this as a service. So the idea here really is to create a prediction market as a service. So if you can read up more about prediction markets, they have done some astonishing feats with this, actually. So you could look and see, for example, prediction markets are actually already everywhere, right? So public prediction markets, so sports teams, which sports team shoots how many goals exactly and wins by how many goals exactly, right? So these can become these very complicated bets, and complicated by for example, if such and such player is not available or gets sick or something, then I bet this will happen, right? So you can make very conditional bets, if you will, and so this has been done in sports, this has been done in politics, and we've seen that the main thing to remember here is that the mass, or the collective of diverse people who are not, or amateurs, right? Diverse amateurs. Maybe there's some experts in there, but the group as a whole does better than the best experts that you can hire and have them tell you what the probabilities of some things are. So if you have the group of amateurs, they will beat the experts. So that's a known fact, but yet it hasn't been marketed or commercialized in any way. So that's what we're doing.
Why someone should buy from you?
Well, for one thing, there isn't really much of an alternative. That's one thing. So if you really want a prediction market where groups predict things in the world that you can't predict with the data, if you really want that, there isn't really a way to buy that at the moment. There isn't a service that you can right now buy. And so, yeah, that's one big reason. The other reason is experience, and I think that what I'm building is with my group here is not it's a unique thing, for one thing, because it doesn't exist. But even if it did exist, I'm working with some people who are experts in this. I don't want to give away too much of this because it hasn't been formalized yet in contracts. I don't want to really tell you the names basically of these people, but there are people who are in collective intelligence think tanks and positions that will support with research, will support our project. And so there's heavy research that supports on an ongoing basis will support our project, which I don't think is, it's a plus for sure. And in fact, like I said, it doesn't really exist anywhere else. So I would recommend to buy with us. But then, yeah, I guess that's the short answer, is really that because it doesn't exist anywhere else, because we sort of invented this system as it stands. Not invented it, but we like I said before, that there's a little bit of a to explain the full system would take a bit of time, and I think that it wouldn't be that easy to understand. So I'm going to omit that. But let me just say that it's not just a prediction market. There's some other things to that will make it more general. So you can express all kinds of general beliefs that you cannot in any existing system express in this way, in a incentive compatible way.
Just hypothetically, how would you crush your competition?
How would I crush my competition? Well, by simply being innovative, right? By having, so let's say let's say next year I have a client and this thing works, our system works, and let's say someone else copies it and comes out with a similar system, just in order to put some meat on what that would mean. What is a competition, right? So then maybe they have more money, they have more resources, and they might be building a bigger team quicker or whatever, and then they would have that system. But I think that we're really built, for one thing, our internal decision making is also collective. So there's not one boss. It's not just me. And the people I tend to work with are very thoughtful, very intelligent, very well educated people. So that's one thing that could probably be copied. Someone else could hire really intelligent, very smart people. But I think that it's a matter of innovation. Who invented this, who synthesized this, who's put a lot of thought into this. I guess all of these things could, in theory, be such that there are other players on this market, and crushing there might be 3 or 4 players that have room in the system, actually, in effect, right? So I'm not even sure that it's necessary to crush the competition in that sense. Just as long as there is a lot of cities in this world and a lot of hospitals, there could be quite a bit of competition, and it wouldn't really matter that much.
How do you deliver a 5-star client experience?
That's actually something the client will deliver with us. So I guess the idea there is, co-creation, as is quite a common thing now. A lot of startups do this co-creation kind of thing. But co-creation in a traditional way, that means that you're working with the executives of a company or something like this to co-create your product. Well, we're not doing that. What we're doing is we're working with everyone, all the users, in an ongoing way, learning from their behaviors, what they like and what they don't like, not just asking them questions. Do you like this? Do you like that? But that also, obviously always being in constant communication with them. So having methods such as, for example, chatbots and conversational interfaces more generally, to have constant feedback with your users and really learn from them and how they want to express themselves, whether something is too complicated, is easy to do, whether it incentivizes them, they want to do it, they get something out of it by engaging with the system or contributing to the system. So that's kind of the dance that we're designing. So we're designing not just a fixed product, but a continuous learning product, a product that continuously learns from all of the users what they like to do, and what makes them do more of the things we want them to do, which is to express their beliefs. Right? So that's what it is. It's a constant dance. It will not be a fixed product. It will be a moving product, so to speak, a continuously learning product. I think
how do you use your sales proposals to close more deals?
How do I to use? I guess the closing part is, it depends on, this is a hard question, really. Let me just think about this. How do I use my sales proposals? So I think that the proposals don't necessarily, it's I guess what it is that here's really what it is that the clients that I'm talking to, the prospective clients that I'm talking to, are already almost there. So the proposal is just sort of nudging them over that little edge, right? So they see already that they have an intelligence system. They invested lots of money into a data warehouse and into, collecting the data correctly, structuring it correctly, making it accessible to everyone. They spend all of this money. They have all of these graphs that they can plot now easily, right? So that you can make all kinds of plots and so on. But you're missing the main thing why you did it, which is to understand how things work in the system. So basically, you spend a lot of money and you still don't have the thing you really want, which is to understand how your actions, how your decisions would impact the system that you're working with, right? So whether it's your organization, your revenue, your whatever it is that you're interested in, right? You can't really know what the causation from the traditional smart system, and you feel frustrated about this. I think that there is a serious there's a serious pain point here. We spend this money. We thought we know how to make decisions now because we can see all this data. But you realize, causation is actually a difficult thing. And in fact, there is no algorithm that will tell you how all the variables in your system are causally connected, right? There is no such algorithm that will give you this. So what can you do? Well, you can ask, and you can basically involve your entire team, your entire organization, your entire city, all the citizens, right? In sort of crowdsourcing likely causal configurations. So you can actually understand how your actions have an impact on your system.
How do you convert your clients into your brand ambassadors?
Well, so you're probably familiar with a company called Slack. Slack does this really effectively, right? So basically the idea is you're using the system, you like what it does, you can't really find anywhere else. And even if you could, you really like the way that it works. That's the goal, right? So you really enjoy the interface. You enjoy being able to express this thing as an individual, right? So as an individual of a collective, you really enjoy working with the system. That's the goal. And once this is the case, right, then you will tell everyone about how great it is that you can actually express your complex belief system about the system, and that you can have an impact on how decisions are made at your job or in your city, right? And that really is exciting to a lot of people. You will tell everyone about it, and that's kind of, and then it can really grow organically, right? So other citizens say, why doesn't my city have this, right? And that's basically what a brand ambassador, I guess, does, right? It walks around, and this person walks around and tells everyone how wonderful your products are. Well, that can be done if we have wonderful products, and we can have wonderful products by learning how to make our products wonderful to the people who use them continuously.
How do you handle an angry client?
An angry client, well, I've had this situation once, and I guess this is not an easy situation for a lot of people. But again, like I was saying before, I am quite a resilient person. So what I would do is I listen to them. I listen to their concerns, as far as they have concerns, real concerns. Sometimes they don't. So this is the problematic situation, the one where they don't actually have a real concern, but where they don't feel heard, or they don't feel like things are moving fast enough, or there are these kinds of situations, and you have to. I think people generally stop being angry when you listen to them carefully and when you let them know that their concerns are heard and taken seriously.
Okay, we are about to move into lightning round. That means quick question and quick answer. Are you ready?
Yes.
What are you grateful for today?
Just to be alive. That's grateful. I'm grateful for that.
How do you start your day?
I start my day by in a certain meditative situation, like in a meditative way, enjoying, being grateful for having another day, and I guess that's it. That's my first few moments of the day. I'm always very much, inward meditative.
How young are you?
45 years young.
So, Johannes, you are not 45, you are 18 years old with 27 years experience.
That's another way to put it.
What you want to do when you grow up?
I don't think I ever really want to fully grow up, but aside from that, I'm kind of doing that, I suppose. I would love this company to be a serious company, doing business all over the world, ideally. But continue doing what I'm doing.
What is your plan to achieve your goal?
Put one brick on top of the other. Mostly, I'm currently working on the last pieces of making the system basically scalable and making it, demonstratable, and then, demonstrating the system to, the sort of demonstration version of it to multiple cities, multiple hospitals. I have a list, so continue making a list of potential clients, going down the list, and so on, and making the first real sale. So that's the big thing, and then basically hiring the right people, being careful about that, and expanding that, and iteratively working on the system. That is the goal ultimately. So the path is the goal, in other words.
How will you feel in case you don't achieve your goal?
I will change my goals slightly, or a lot if I have to, and I will feel just fine.
How do you overcome a challenge life throws at you?
Generally thinking very hard about it, thinking about the challenge, what it involves, thinking a bit out of the box about it. What other ways could I think about the problem? That's basically it, like exploring the problem, and it's an explorative. I think all of that really is an explorative exercise.
What is the advice you will give to younger yourself?
One thing: finish the PhD on time. Don't try to overdo it. Don't try to do something that will impress everyone in the world. You don't have to make your PhD, your magnum opus. For one thing, I would tell myself that. I would be very. Aside from that, kind of keep doing what you're doing. It's gonna go well. I guess that's it.
Once you have a revenue-generating idea, how do you convince your significant other?
Well, my wife basically invested a lot of money already in this idea, so I guess I've done that by simply, explaining the idea to her, and working kinks out with her, listening to her as well. To what is her input. She's given me great input. She's actually been a driving force the whole time.
Who is your living mentor and what's the impact?
My biggest mentor was Amartya Sen. He's a professor at Harvard, the impact was huge. It's a completely different person since I've met Amartya Sen, and so I guess to rethink everything really in human terms. So you're taught economics, for example, as I was, in a sort of very mathematical, very technical way that is sort of devoid of all human experience. And so I guess the importance of bringing it back to human, to the human experience is what, and also the importance of measurement. I think that the prime thing I would say is I really have to say that, because measurement, that the importance of measuring things correctly, measuring things, for example, GDP does not represent the economy very well, and the experience of most people in the economy is not very well represented by a measure like GDP. So, he was talking a lot about that particular measure and its failures. But, in general, measuring things allows you to to measure aspects of the human experience in the right way, allows you to create a better world. That's what I've learned there.
Why being impactful is important to you?
That's almost like I feel like that this question is somewhat circular. It's almost like saying, why is importance important to you, right? I mean, I think that impact is and at this point, we're no longer animals living, in the forest. Maybe that is a better experience, honestly. But if we don't have that experience, if we are actually in the modern world, living as we do, I think the currency that really matters is your impact, much more than how much money you have or where you live or how much luxury you enjoy. I think impact is really the currency.
What you want to be remembered for?
Oh, honestly, I don't care if people remember me. I mean, my loved ones maybe, and but I guess if people remember me, I hope they remember me as a loving human being who cares about other human beings.
How can we support you?
You're doing it. I mean, if you bring my ideas to as many people as possible and let them hear those ideas, maybe make some introductions, and that would really help, especially with people who might benefit from our services.
We are about to wrap up. I like to have a few words about your today's guest experience on the show. Here is my question. What would you say about your today's guest experience on the show?
I really like it. I like the questions you ask. It's very thoughtful. I think you put together quite a nice webinar system. I don't know, is that what you call it? Is it a webinar? A nice conversational experience. It's very good. I enjoyed it.
What would you say as a final word?
As a final word, I would like to give the quote that I really like from Albert Einstein, which is that peace cannot be achieved by. Sorry. Hold on. Let me make sure I get this right. Actually, I don't want to screw this up. Hold on. I think that's just to make sure I want to give the right quote, right? So. One second, just so I want to give this right. Peace cannot be kept by force. It can only be achieved by understanding.
Thank you so much, Johannes, for sharing your wisdom with us today on the behalf of Growth Hacking Secrets community and our entire team. Really appreciate you. This is Mohammed Siddique signing off from Atlanta, Georgia. Until the next episode, all good wishes.
Thank you.